everyone, and welcome back. If this is your first time, I hope you'll stay. Espero que te quedes. Now, today we are going to be focusing on 5 ways to make sure that you're learning to write better in Spanish. So this is aimed for lower school kids studying Spanish. Okay, so from year 7 to 9. Even though I've just said that, please stick around if you feel as though you're just starting, your Spanish is not as good, and you really need to work on your writing. Okay? Alright, I hope you've had a lovely break, as did I, and that you're ready now to get back in that driving seat and get serious about your studies. Okay, first thing we're going to look at is how we tend to rely, which is quite logical. We rely on English, and so automatically we translate word for word. That is our biggest problem. I still do that. We all do that. I don't think we ever get to a point where you just never do that. Generally speaking, you know, I've been doing Spanish for a long time, and so it's not as common because I now have a level of fluency where I don't need to translate word for word. But that's what I did when I was your age, definitely. And I still do it sometimes, and sometimes I catch myself saying, oh, that is so English. So we're going to make sure that you're not doing that. So the first point that I have for you is the verb love. Okay, we tend to translate this and write this the way we would write it in English. So in English, we'd say love and we only have the verb love. L-O-V-E. Whereas in Spanish, you're going to see lots of different ways of saying love. Well, lots. You have amar, yeah? You have querer, you have encantar, right? But when we're writing in English, we would normally say, I love my mother. And so we do the same in Spanish, which is a massive mistake. You have to remember to add the letter A, the preposition a. I love to my mother. When you listen to Spanish students speaking English, when they don't really have a high level of English, they do translate that a to the to in English. A lot of my Spanish students do the same in English. They will say, I love to my dog. So in Spanish, you would always say, querer a, okay? Amo a, okay? Quiero a mi madre, okay? I love to my mother. We normally write, quiero mi madre, okay? I love my mother. So you have to remember that there is a that goes with that verb, okay? And that we don't use love in the same way. Querer is when you love somebody, it could be a mother or father, friends or whatever. Whereas amar, I think, is more used with gente de Latin America. I think in Spain it's always querer. Quiero a esto, quiero, yeah? Quiero a esta persona. And encantar is for things. So when you love something, you love a hobby, you love to do something. When it's not a person, you would use encantar. So we're going to try not to confuse those 3 words, okay? Querer is more used in Spain. Amar, I feel as though has more passion, but it's more used in Latin America, or at least within my group of friends, the people who say amar the most are not necessarily from Spain. They're normally from Latin America. If you disagree with me, also share. I would love to hear your opinion. And encantar is for things or concepts, okay? Right. The next point that I have is, and I've mentioned this before, the order of the words in the sentence. Now, in English, we would say this is a quiet area. We would say the quiet first. This is a quiet the adjective. Area, the noun. It's a quiet area. in Spanish, you have to remember to flip it around. Esta es una zona tranquila. So the noun comes before the adjective. Es una zona tranquila. Okay? You need to remember that it changes around. So what you would write naturally in English, you would just flip them around. Okay? The noun, un libro grande, no un grande libro. You understand what I mean? Okay, so that's another mistake that we all tend to make, and we're going to try not to do that so much this year. Okay? We tend to struggle with number 3 a lot, which is negation. When you're making a sentence negative, it is actually very easy to do. Think about how you would say it in a positive way. Afirmando. How would you say it in an affirmative manner? So if I was to say, I don't like that, how would you first say, I like that? Me gusta, right? So the only thing you would do is then put a no in front of it. No me gusta. How would you say, I care? Me importa. I care about that. Me importa. I care. How would you say, I don't care? No me importa. Okay, so it's basically putting a no in front of the affirmative sentence. Okay, think about if you know how to say it in a positive, in an affirmative manner, all you're doing then is putting a no in front of it. Okay, you're not my friend, but how would I say you are my friend? Eres mi amigo. To make it negative, no eres mi amigo. Okay, see, let's have another go. I don't like the idea. How would you say, I like the idea? Me gusta la idea. How would you make it negative? No me gusta la idea. So the only thing you're doing is thinking, how would I say it in affirmative? And then just add a no in front of it. That's it. We don't have to complicate ourselves with don't or not or no. It's as easy as that. Yes, okay. Tener is a word that we tend to use the wrong way. We tend to translate it into English, and you have to remember that in Spanish, tener tend to go with certain situations such as feeling and states. So when you would say I am or the verb to be, you would use tener in Spanish. So instead of saying, think of states, hungry. Okay, I'm hungry. You would say, estoy hambre, or tener, tengo hambre. I'm thirsty, tengo sed. Okay. Also, when we're talking about age, because we say in English, I am 15, you have to remember that in Spanish is tengo. Okay, so you have to revise the expressions to do with feelings and states that always go with the verb tener. Tengo sed, tengo 20. Okay. Tengo miedo, okay, I'm scared. There are certain states that always go with tener, okay, not to be as they do. Okay, so try and remember that when you write it. Next one, this is a tiny, tiny word, but it gives such massive problems. Come on. It, the word it tends to get in our way a lot and trip us up. Yes, you do translate the it in Spanish a lot of the times, but most of the times you don't. So let's think of an example. The it that you tend to translate, for example, I love it. In Spanish you wouldn't say me encanta lo. It's not necessary, me encanta, okay? Because the it is already incorporated into the verb encantar, because of the way they already conjugate verbs. Me encanta. The lo is not necessary. The it is not needed. So a lot of times you have to remember that you don't need the it that we translate as a single word in English. In Spanish, the it sometimes is not translated so overtly. I love it. Me encanta. Okay? Right. Another example. If I want to say it is interesting, I wouldn't say lo es interesante. I would just say es interesante. Why? Because es already means it is. Okay, so we have to remember those little things because they trip us up. They seem minor, and they are minor, but sometimes we forget and we beat ourselves up because we're trying to remember what it is and we're trying to translate it, and then we make a mess of our writing because we forget that little word that sometimes is already incorporated. Okay, we do use it quite a lot. I don't know, for instance, right now it is cold, so I'm wearing so many layers. It is cold, but that it in Spanish is not translated. We would just say hace frío. Okay, it is cold, hace frío, because the verb that goes with weather and describing the weather is hacer. It makes cold. So if you see that it already comes within the verb because they conjugate the verb. Hago, I do. Haces, you do. Hace, it makes. So you see that it a lot of the times is already in the verb, and because it's already conjugated, we don't need to add that extra it. Okay, I think that was probably the trickiest one because we do tend to add an extra it when we don't need it. I hope that this has helped you, and it went on entirely too long. I apologize, but I hope that with these 5 tips, your writing will be better this year. Have a fantastic rest of the day, and I will see you all very soon. Okay, adios. Bye guys.